And there are a lot of regulations that affect their businesses, and the legal team can help in the how and not the why not of this spec. I would heavily rely on cross-functional teams and to combine the business, the project management, and the legal teams, and not to use the legal bullshit. So it's not about focusing on our importance, but we should rather focus on our impact.
So today's guest is someone who spent his career helping teams navigate complex legal challenges with clarity and precision. Gergely Szabo is a lawyer with deep expertise in tech, data, and regulation. He worked across sectors to make legal systems more practical and human. Gergely, great to have you here. Let's dive in.
Thank you, Stefan, for the opportunity. Looking forward to our conversation.
So I have a question. In this channel, we are talking about company transformation, right? And I know that most executives don't think that legal teams can bring a lot of value during this transition. Why, from your perspective, executive must see legal compliance not as a pain point, but as a strategic advantage?
You're right that most lawyers are considered as brokers in terms of their advice, but the companies are living in an over-regulated environment, and the task for the executives is to provide growth and excellence in such a complicated world. And there are a lot of regulations that affect their businesses, and the legal team can help in the how and not the why not of this aspect. So the task of legal teams is to make their clients, make their employees know about the upcoming legislation, the challenges, but also to focus on the opportunities and how these complex regulations align with the business where the company is operating and what opportunities can those regulations bring.
Okay. No, it makes sense. I think, in some way, knowing the law, gives leaders the confidence to act boldly.
I would like to also stress out that compliance is not about ticking boxes. It's not about just drafting useless papers. It's about adding to the customer journey. It's about aligning the business aspects with the regulatory framework and just to play on the regulated fields up to your full potential and reaching that potential. So for me, that's the most important thing is we are not just generating papers and solutions to some dual regulations. It's about finding the most convenient way to fulfill the requirements, but at the same time have the impact which would give us or which would give the company a competitive advantage and would add to the customer journey. I should mention that compliance also unlocks faster market access. So for example, if you reach compliance faster than your competitors, then you can unlock the first mover advantage and get more business opportunities. For example, in case of ESG or NIS2 cybersecurity compliance, when you're up to the legal regulations and you comply with them, you can enter into the supply chain of large corporations because they require full compliance, and it's a good business opportunity because maybe your competitors are lagging behind you in respect of compliance. I don't know whether I should stress out, but in my opinion, transformation is not only about technology. It should focus on strategy, corporate culture, and customer experience. Sometimes if you make a small adjustment in your processes, the outcome is better than if you force some new software or the total transformation of your company. Therefore, you have to have the right business strategy before you invest anything into transformation. And sometimes it's not about who moves faster. It's about who moves stronger and smarter. And you should analyze your competition as well and the best practices of other markets. Most importantly, to see the transformation from the eyes of your customers, because the transformation is for the benefit of your company, but you rely on your customers And if they don't share your vision, if they see that this transformation was totally useless and their customer journey is way worse than before, then the transformation was totally useless.
Okay. I love to see a lawyer talking about customer, right? Because most of the people think that lawyer never talk about customer. But this is very, very interesting. I mean, we should all be in the business to serve our customer. Of course, also the internal team, right? But it's very interesting to see that you put customer at the center of everything.
You should not only be familiar with the consumer protection regulations, but also see the impact of the business decisions regarding the customers. For example, if a new product or service is rolled on the market, then it might happen that some of the initial customers would churn after a certain period of time, and it might be because of the functionality of the product or service, but also it might be because of the complexity of the terms and conditions that the company might have, or their customer service, or because their website is too complicated, and it's really hard to find the real issues initially. And that's why cross-functional teams might help, and the fresh eye from outside or from another department might help in this respect. Okay, we are people. We make mistakes. We have to own our own mistakes and reshuffle and learn from our mistakes.
So now my question is more about how. How in real life can legal teams actively enable company-wide transformation, especially in tech-driven industries?
So first of all, you need to involve the legal from day one. When you're just having the aim, but most of the times don't know the how of the transformation. So the most important thing is, besides involving the legal team, is to get the common tone and be on the same page with them, and to know that the outcome can be complex, and to involve them. It's like a product development. If we work together, then the outcome can be better, and we must not use the jargon. We must find a common tone and not overcomplicate the things. Okay. So in this respect, it's not about focusing on how to avoid the risk. It's about how to make an effective transformation, how to involve all the stakeholders, how to know the possible obstacles, but rather focus on the execution part of the transformation.
Thank you for this perspective, Gergely. I think it makes real sense. I mean, I used to work in the bank, and we involve the legal team right at the beginning, especially when we try to create customer journey. So we need to know exactly, for example, where we should have our user to accept the terms and conditions. And if the lawyer was involved at the end of the process, definitely we need to redo the work from the beginning. So seeing the lawyer as a co-creator of this type of process brings a lot of value. Definitely. I fully agree on that. So now I have more question about related to startups company, because when startups, especially at the beginning, they didn't have internal legal team, or at least they have someone which have more experience, on the legal compliance subjects. How can companies use internal and external lawyers strategically to avoid delays, stay cost effective, and keep project moving?
Thank you for the question. First of all, we should focus on the different aspects of being external legal advisor or an in-house counsel. Most of the times, in-house counsels are generalists, but at the same time, specialists of the given industry. So they should good at employment law, corporate law, corporate governance, and the industry-related legislation. And these people are mostly employees, so their liability is limited in that respect, and their advice is limited in terms of broader view of the complexity of the legal issues. On the other hand, external legal advisors are having a larger team. They are mostly used for special purposes, for example, for M&A transactions, for rolling out new products, and to give special advice on particular legal issues, and they have larger liability insurance. So I see that in some cases we are asked because of the liability part. So we are used for special purposes as external advisors, but for larger cases, larger transactions.
Very interesting, Gergely. So now let's focus more on the M&A part, right? Some large transformation are due to this merger and acquisition. So I know that your company your clients ask you to help them to deal with very large M&A. So from your perspective, what separates a great M&A deal from a bad one? And how can legal teams proactively shape the outcome for long-term value?
There's a term called BBB, which means build, borrow, or buy. And sometimes we feel that the given transaction is not well established and the given company does not need the transaction. And it would be better to get some in-house help or to borrow some people outside instead of having the transaction. But as we are lawyers, legal advisors, we are often not asked about that. So good M&A transaction starts with the cooperation of the different advisors. We have lawyers, we have financial advisors, tax advisors. Sometimes we have environmental advisors, we have business advisors, and also we have the in-house team of the client. And also we have to deal with the team and different advisors of the target company. So it's about rolling up the sleeves, cooperate, talk effectively, be humble. So not just tell that you are the trusted advisor, know everything. It's rather a teamwork, and it's really important to find the skeletons and not to urged by the time pressure, because sometimes most of the fails are due to the time pressure and the lack of care and due diligence from the advisors and the project team. And with due structuring and attention to the details, those issues might pop up earlier. So a good M&A transaction is like that. A bad one is having a lot of pressure, no communication, no involvement of different advisors, working in silos and just focusing on the outcome instead of analyzing what we have and what we could make.
Now I've got for you, Gergely, a surprise question. This is part of the channel, right? How lawyer can align deal terms with long-term strategic goal of the company.
So we had some transactions where we were aware of the long-term goals of our clients, and we had to analyze the deal terms and some key contracts from that perspective. And we had to renegotiate the terms for the benefit of our clients to have a lasting impact. And also, for example, for some dealership agreements and long-term contracts, we could renegotiate their terms to gain some advantage for the future and see how the implementation of the transaction and the due execution can be made. So from this perspective, the most important thing is to communicate openly with the clients, understand their needs, understand their long-term requirements, and renegotiate the terms of the transaction documents and, if possible, the terms of some business contracts for the benefit of our clients. It's really a game of two. So it's essential to cooperate effectively with the other side's legal counsel and financial advisors and get to a common solution. So most of the times, M&A is not a game of war. It's like a game of cooperation and to find the benefits in the transaction for all parties involved.
Okay, that's very interesting, no? Because it's very interesting to see the legal role in surfacing, hidden risk before deal signing, especially where the contract is very big and we need to sign a billion-dollar contract. So,
And
okay.
in many times, sorry for interrupting you, in many times we need to have several rounds of management interviews to get into the deep details and to see beneath the documents and to understand the real motivations and the real working of the given company. Because in data rooms, you cannot upload everything. You don't want to upload the shady details or the real issues with the target company. And you have to conduct some interviews and have some deep diving to get closer to the truth and try to see how the issues can be solved and to convince the targets that they should be honest, because that truth would come to the surface. And if it's later, then it's worse.
Fully agree on that. So now let's talk about the subject we see each time, compliance by design. And especially if we want to talk about proactive regulation. So I've seen many companies, which were able to develop a kind of strategic competitive advantages, by surfing on new regulations. So how can legal teams proactively address regulation changes while building compliance systems that scale with the company growth and innovation?
First of all, it's a must to follow the upcoming legislation and not just read them new regulations in the official gazette. And in some industries, there are opportunities to consult with the legislation or the market's supervision authorities in terms of shaping the new legislation and in terms of letting the regulator know how the industry feels and what are the pain points of the industry. Some years ago, it was about telco. Now it's about AI and cybersecurity. But in most cases, when the given industry is complex and heavily regulated, the regulation is often behind the real life. That's why white papers, industrial associations are relevant in many industries. And that's where the real impact of proactive lawyers can be a benefit for their clients, for their companies. And that's how the compliance by design can happen. And also in this respect, no, but rather focus on finding the common tone between the different stakeholders and to tell not just the hard truth, but tell the how and focus on the how and not focus on the why not aspect of the things.
I am also fully agree on this. I think, we should be jargon free. We should use common words, common languages. Even when you are part of an engineering team, you are using tech vocabulary, not very understandable by business people. We need to have a kind of common language that can be easily understood by everyone. And this is definitely one of the pillars to build trust, collaboration inside the team. I fully agree on that, Gergely. So now let's move on the subject, which is how can we redefine value in law, right? So in the age of automation, AI, cost pressure, how should legal leaders redefine value in legal services?
That's a good question, and we feel the daily pressure regarding the alternative legal service providers, the business consultants, even by coaches, fortune tellers, friends, foes of clients, that the trusted advisor status of traditional lawyers has been shrinking in the past 2 decades, and lawyers should invent themselves to regain their status. My understanding is that we should focus on the impact of our advice rather than on the billable hours, on the income part. And we should also focus on getting down to earth, because most people think that lawyers are the smartest people in the room. And some lawyers act like this, but if we can find a common tone with other advisors and with the management or with the product team, then the results can be better. And continuing that, I emphasize that the world has changed and we don't need long legal advice, thousands of pages for due diligence reports or for memorandum of law. We need to have concise, short answers, taking into consideration the business aspects and the impact of our advice. And as I said before, not just focusing on the why not, but to find alternative solutions and get to the how for the client. So as far as I see, if we focus on this, then the lawyers are safe. But it's a hard work. It requires a lot of communication, a lot of efforts, and a lot of cooperation and soft skills.
To wrap up this session, what are the 3 main insights or advice do you want to share with the legal team to help a company to transform and be part of the 30% company will change, transform successfully?
It's really hard to narrow it down to 3, but I will try so. First of all, I consider that a legal team to be effective should be proactive and approachable. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they should understand the business, understand the needs of the clients, whether it's their employees or whether it's their clients as being an external legal advisor, and act for the benefit of their business and try to shape together the business for the benefit of the given client. And the third one is to earn respect and not to expect the respect, and understand that sometimes it's better to have a short and clear answer than to waste days or even weeks with a professionally aligned and concise and Oxford perfect English spoken written answer.
Perfect. Okay. So now I will close this interview. So, Gergely, thank you very much for sharing your insights about how legal team can move from being a blocker to add value to the company strategy. And especially how the legal team can help a company to transform safely, securely, and to create a lot of value. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hope you liked it.